to Okay, welcome to the Lost Confederacy. This channel is dedicated to the American history. We are in week 9. Is that correct?
It's 8.
Okay, yeah. We're in week 8, and we're going to go ahead and start off with the 12 steps of recovery, and that's going to be read by Chief Quietwater.
All righty. So step number 1, learn about the estate or estates your family originated from. 2, who established that estate. 3, what nation and confederacy had jurisdiction over that area prior to the European. 4, ask all nonprofit organizations you attend what's your position on reparations. 5, they either support it or they don't. No support, no money. However, if they support it, then immediately children and adults need weekly classes free of charge about steps 1, 2, and 3, and field trips to ADOS landmarks in that city, county, and state. Number 6, don't support European holidays for the remainder of the 13-week time frame. 7, avoid spending money with any small business that doesn't hire your people, gas stations, nail salons, subways. 8, all businesses need operating cash. Spend money with American Black businesses. 9, all other groups rely on our energy and operating cash to survive. Set the trends of making other groups follow our lead and support our clubs, services, products, and entertainment. 10, the US government is bankrupt. The Federal Reserve prints money, i.e. quantitative easing. It also burns money, i.e. quantitative tightening. The US dollar has been backed by gold since Richard Nixon in 1971. The Gold Standard Act. The government operates off full faith of its citizens to pay debt and taxes. American descendants of slavery no longer have faith in the US government. This is why financial support will be altered, stopped, and redirected. Number 11, teach your kids 1 hour a day about their history on this land. A, have them learn about a Black inventor. B, have them know about our heroes. C, they should know the European that conquered the estate you live in. D, they should know the nation of people prior to the European invasion, militarily and culturally. And number 12, practicing these steps will educate us on the land we're claiming America and attaches us to the history and laws of the US government. Each estate American descendants of slavery live in should have steps 1, 2, and 3 advertised via social media, radio, newspaper. This in 13 weeks, 1 fiscal quarter will bring us together for our common cause.
Okay, and am I next for the inventor?
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay, Chief Alligator, and today's American inventor is going to be George. He is in Tom Samson, and he invented the clothes dryer. Federal patent number 476416, and the clothes dryer was invented June 7th, 1892. And we do not have a perpetual percentage of income coming from that industry that one of our ancestors created.
What was his name again? George.
T is in Tom, middle initial T, Samson.
Okay.
And the patent number?
476416.
And the date of that invention was June 7th, 1892.
Correct.
Nice.
So we're going to do the Dr. Carter G. Woodson quote.
Okay. So I'm going to do quote number 8. In the church where we have freedom and independence, we must get rid of preachers who are not prepared to help the people whom they exploit. The public must refuse to support men of this type. Ministers who are the creators of the old education system must be awakened. And if this is impossible, they must be dethroned. Those who keep the people in ignorance and play upon their emotions must be exiled. The people have never been taught what religion is. For most of the preachers find it easier to stimulate the superstition which develops in the unenlightened mind. Religion in such hands then becomes something with which you take advantage of weak people. Why try to enlighten the people in such matters with superstition serves when superstition serves just as well for exploitation. Sorry, y'all.
And we have Chief Black doing the 5 maroon points.
Yes, sir. All right. So 5 maroon historical points. Number 1 was a person escaping slavery, seeking freedom, or breaking the law. Number 2, providing unity and a strong defense came first. Number 3, maroon leaders were first and foremost military leaders. Number 4, maroon established guerrilla warfare, planting sharp sticks in thick grass. 5, maroons knew the European enemy's language, defense, and plans.
Okay, thank you for everybody that read. I'm gonna go ahead and share this screen so we can get right into it. Let's see. Share. Second. Out of it. All right, one of y'all want to try to pull up the Indian Removal Act? Looks like my screen sharing is having an issue real quick.
Can you drop the link in the chat?
Second, let's see it. All right, 1 second. A little difficulty, no problem. All right, that's one of the links.
So if I click on it, it should show.
It'll pull it up on your end and then you'll be able to share it. Let's see.
Okay, so I have it pulled up.
Okay, so we stopped reading on page 2.
So everybody's not going to be able to see it then, right?
Yeah, everybody should be able to, you can share your screen. You should be able to share your screen. I'm not sure what's.
Okay, let me see. Oh, okay, I got it here. Okay. Share. Wait a minute. So I've never done this. Hold on. Can you guys see everything?
Oh yeah, we can see everything, even your government name.
Yeah, I didn't want all of that to be up there. Okay, am I doing it right?
Yeah, it's recording everything you're doing.
I'm saying you guys can see the.
Yeah, we can see everything.
Okay. So you say go to page 2?
Yes, if you scroll down, I think.
Right here?
So we stopped here. We'll pick up on the who are the Seminole, and then we'll just do the next page. I'm putting the links in the chat since my screen is unable to share. Y'all can start it. Someone can start it. Who are the Seminole? And I'll put the other links in the chat, and we'll just move around that technical difficulty and keep it moving.
Okay, I'll go ahead and start. So who are the Seminoles? The Seminole people are unique among American tribes in that we have historical evidence of their formation. When the Spaniards arrived, Florida was populated by hundreds of thousands of Native Americans, divided into numerous nations. Within 200 years, these tribes were nearly extinct, having succumbed to warfare, European diseases, and forced labor. So basically, they're describing who the Seminoles were. When the Spaniards arrived, they were pretty much already there.
Correct. Anybody else would like to build on that?
Pretty straightforward.
It's pretty specific that it says European disease too.
Mhm. Okay, I'll go ahead and continue. Into the void came Indians from established tribes in which is now Georgia and Alabama. Prior to the 1700s, various groups migrated to Florida for several reasons. Some were looking for new hunting grounds, others were fleeing white expansion, while still others left their homelands because of conflict within their own tribes. So this is basically kind of giving an overview. There was infighting because of everything that was going on when the Europeans did come. And basically, that's what it's saying, that there was different things that was going on with them migrating to Florida for different reasons.
Anybody else would like to build on that?
I like the fact that it says where they were from and where they like that they migrated to Florida. Instead of just saying that everybody was in Florida, it says that they were in Georgia and Alabama and migrated to Florida. For their, like, they weren't being put, well, some of them were being pushed, but a lot of it says that they were looking for new hunting grounds, but some of them were just being nomadic, it seems like.
Right.
Good point. There was also the Yamasee Wars going on in the Carolinas and the Underground Railroad that they're not going to mention, but you're correct, Chief Akibaline. The migrating was going on due to the wars and the collapse of other nations. So they were coming further south and kind of combining together to try to fight the whole land to not be forced west of the Mississippi River. Chief Blackcoat, you got anything you want to build on that?
No, I was just gonna say, when we speak of Seminole, we are talking about this south part of America. So Florida natives migrating, I guess, so more so north and out and spread out the route. So we just always want to keep that in mind. We're talking about where we come from as a people. That Florida, well, that Seminole out of Florida.
I think a lot of and I don't know anything about like the Western natives, but a lot of these Eastern nations were pretty strong, like as far as like the way that they were set up, like their strength in numbers, like even with the Iroquois and the Sioux nations, they were pretty strong up in the northern areas. And then on the southern areas, it was like the Seminoles and the Cherokees and everything. But it seems like they all had real strong ties with each other, that they could defend each other unless something like overpowered them, which happened. But you can tell that they had a real good community aspect to them.
Okay. Settling in different areas at various times and occasionally mixing with indigenous tribes, these groups took on separate identities and were generally divided into two linguistic groups, the Mucasuki and the Muskogee. One of the oldest and most powerful tribes was the Miccosukee, who lived in northeast of Tallahassee. Another large group lived around the Alachua Prairie. So basically, they're saying that they were broken down into two linguistic groups speaking the different languages. And I know that from what we read with our family history, a lot of the natives were part of that Muskogee language that was broken down into different, I guess, dialects within the different tribes.
Correct. Yeah, we can see the two languages. I know Georgia is even Iroquoian language when I looked into that. So that was Cherokee Nation, but they spoke Iroquoian, which is referencing what Chief Akebelon said, that northeastern region, the Iroquois Confederacy. So in that Florida, Georgia area, yeah, you got the Miccosukee and the Muskogee and the Miccosukee dialect. I believe Muskogee is a county right now in the state of Georgia, correct?
Yeah.
So,
Ohio too.
really?
I've seen Muskogee in several different states, to be honest with you. Tennessee, I do believe Tennessee. I do know for sure Ohio. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Keep their name. That's one thing they'll do. They'll keep who came out of those areas. It's like they'll name a street or town. Like you can see which group of people and where they live. So it goes back to how they account for everything.
And it's so many, it's just a lot of remnants of it now, like we said, with the counties and things like that. Is like in plain sight, people kind of just look over the fact that these are native names that things are being named after.
People don't know it though.
Yeah, true.
The history kind of teaches it backwards or incorrect, to be more exact, because the mentality is still, we come from Africa, so we kind of forget.
Right.
Man. Right.
Exactly.
This group of people is totally extinct.
Right. Okay. Other smaller bands were scattered throughout the peninsula. Excuse me. Europeans who came into contact with the various tribes began to apply the term Seminole, meaning runaway or outsider, to any Indian living in Florida. So basically they tried to tag them and put, play with words in regards to putting labels on them.
I wonder what their actual name is then, because if we all call them Seminoles, and that's not what they were calling each other, the European called them that. So I wonder if they had a different name before, like being called Seminoles, that we just don't know about.
The tongue was different too, so whatever language they were speaking, it translated to the European as Seminole, but
right.
Yeah.
But that's a good point, and they're correct with the definition, meaning runaway. Remember what we're learning, as South Carolina nations were losing ground, they were migrating into the southeast region of the Creek Confederacy. So you got collapsed nations of people joining together. So from the enemy standpoint, the European, they're looking at them as runaways. But they were
okay.
But they were able to come together and kind of, you got all these different bands of tribes from collapsed nations, and they came together under one new nation, which would be the Seminole Nation, that ultimately got recognized by the United States government in the mid 1900s, I believe, like around that 1950, 1960 time frame. That's when that nation finally got recognized.
Okay.
Good point.
For the Seminole, however, the distinction between traditional groups remains. Today, most of the official Seminole tribe of Florida are Miccosukee speaking and live in the Collier, Miami-Dade, and Broward counties. Although there are Muskogee speaking members who live in northwest of Lake Okeechobee, there is also a smaller, politically separate Miccosukee tribe of Indians of Florida living west of Miami, who share common ancestors with members of the Seminole tribe. Okay. So they, go ahead.
Yeah, what they're doing is now they're playing, they've been playing racism, because you can see you got specific groups like trying to say, oh, we're the Seminole, right? But we know that the quote unquote nation is in Oklahoma right now. They're saying, oh, we're descendants from the people in Oklahoma, so we're going to have, positions west of Miami. So what they're doing is trying to select who's American and who isn't.
Mm.
And that's a big issue with Americans that have our skin complexion.
Right.
Those who are trying to get recognized by these quote unquote civilized tribes, they're still playing the skin game even with them.
Mm.
They said too is politically separate. I don't think that politically separate. I think that's them just picking who they want to be the Muskegee and who they don't want to be the Muskegee. Because if it's politically separate, that doesn't mean that it's actually separate. That just means in the eyes of the government that it's like something different or who they want to be a certain thing.
Right.
Great point. Great point.
Great point.
You want to build on that, Chief Black Coat?
I think Chief of Cuba line pretty much got a little deep in there as far as the European taking accountability for what they can see with their eyes and then trying to put them in their reservation from their standpoint. He had a good point there.
Okay. And then just summing up, it says, for the purpose of this guide, we generally use the common term Seminole to refer to any Florida Indian of the Seminole War period.
And that kind of summed up what Chief Cuba line was saying right there.
Right. Mhm.
I think that last page under that would be the last one that we'll read as far as the first war is concerned, and then we'll jump straight into the American Removal Act.
Okay.
And there's a link in the chat with a different page off this document that I put.
Mhm.
It's for the specific page so that we can show the map of where those battles actually took place in the Northern Peninsula.
Do you want me to pull that up now?
Yeah, so we can kind of just, or if someone else wants to pull it up and share.
I can pull it up, I think.
I can't pull it up. I'm on my phone.
It's in the chat, you say? Okay, here we go. So, copy and paste. Ooh, it's several of them, so let me see. Okay, additional page, I see.
That one kind of came through kind of funny on my side.
That's not it. Yeah.
This is not, I just copied and pasted. Was it the last one that you sent?
No, it's gonna,
Okay.
it should be the one underneath the
22
first one
days.
in the chat. Should be.
Dang. People died in Tennessee in a flood.
22.
Yeah, for some reason, the way that it's pulling up, I'm clicking on it and this is, okay. It's coming up, but it's going back out.
Ow.
Refresh your page.
Go to googleimages.com and then put search for embedded link.
No, just refresh your page. Hit the refresh button.
Okay.
It's
Jawan, I
So
mean,
that's not the right one.
it's not the right one?
No, click on the FLDOSWEB. Click on the second link in the chat, not the top one, but the second one.
This one? No?
Yeah, now you gotta scroll all the way down to the bottom,
You said the second one, okay.
like the last 3 pages.
Oh, on this.
Just grab the dot on the right side and you can just pull it all the way down to the bottom. One of the bottom 3 pages. Okay, go up 1 page. Right there.
Okay.
Can you make that a little bigger?
Sure.
All right, so we can clearly see here in that first Seminole War, we can see that we understand, just a reminder that Georgia was a military buffer state. So it started with Savannah and they were going to push west toward the Mississippi. And so they first encountered that Seminole Nation. You can see all the battles took place in that panhandle of Florida, in that very northern region.
Right. Up here?
Correct. All of this is all of that is the panhandle. So that's the northern tip of Florida. So that first Seminole War, you can see all the ports because this is the Gulf of Mexico was this body of water. So you can see that they came in and they wanted access to those waterways.
Mhm.
So I just wanted people to see so they can get an idea where that first Seminole War took place. Any one of y'all want to build on that before we go ahead and read that last page of the summary on it?
I mean, it's pretty
Mhm.
self-explanatory.
Right,
To
right.
me, it seems like they like after they got pushed out of Georgia and Alabama, it's like they stopped them from getting to the ports. I don't know if they got to the ports or not, but it's like they stopped them right before they can reach it. And like, let's just say they're trying to make connections, and they stopped them right before they can go make a connection at the ports and everything. Because I feel like if they got to the ports, they could have probably asked for help for some people in like the islands or something like that.
For sure. Yeah, the European was just, establishing jurisdiction for import, export. And this map kind of shows it.
Mm-hmm.
With the battles and the forts that they put in, they put it right on the waterways. If you notice the fort site, Fort Gadsden is right on the water there. Then they got Fort Scott, more inland. And you can see the blue X marks are going to be big battles. Of course, war. Chief Blackcoat, you can get into that a little bit more, but they're marking the biggest battles that took place. But of course, there was theater on both sides at any given time. Correct?
All right, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Finish.
Okay. I'm going to go back to the.
Yeah, we'll just finish that up right here. I'll start it off. So increasing tensions between the settlers of southern Georgia and the Seminole Americans residing in Spanish Florida led to an outbreak of violence in late 1817. The spark that ignited the war was an American military excursion against the Seminole village of Town in southwest Georgia, whose headman, Neamafla, had complained of white encroachment upon his land. So if you go back to that other map real quick, we can just see Town. You see it right above Fort Scott. So basically they're saying this is where it jumped off. You had Europeans encroaching in American territory. And that's what pretty much sparked off the first war. Again, I'm taking from this, they're just coming to military occupy your land. Whatever you had going on that land, they want it. Anybody else want to build on that?
And to caveat what you just said, they want a military occupy it. So I need a lot of space. I need a lot of land.
Mm-hmm.
We're establishing something here from day one.
Basically just taking it all over.
Chief of the line, you want to build on that?
I agree with that, what everybody said. Also, think that like if they came here and they didn't see anybody, I feel like it would have probably taken them longer to think about like conquering it, because when they came, they saw people, and I feel like that made them feel like, okay, since people are already here, there must be something here that we can take advantage of.
For sure.
Okay. The attack on Town was followed by a week later by a retaliatory ambush on a military vessel that was ascending the Apalaco River in Florida's Panhandle. The attack, known as Scott Massacre, resulted in the deaths of approximately 40 soldiers and dependents. So here we're talking about trade. We can see that the Americans attacked a military vessel, right? So the military was moved, the United States government's military, which is our ancestors' enemy, was moving goods and products through the Appalachian River, and they caught them slipping, and they killed 40 of them and kids, right? They killed 40 soldiers and dependents. So that's what I got from that. Anybody want to build on that?
And just to say that again, the United States military was our ancestors' enemy. I can kind of go over somebody's head and not catch it and understand what we're talking about right now, our ancestors, and who that enemy was today.
Right.
You want to go down? You want to drill down a little bit on that statement?
It's just you just don't want that to kind of breeze by. Today we have the United States military. You got your Air Force, Marine Corps, Navy, and then Army. So it's like just put that same corp or that same group understand this is who we're talking about when we say the United States government or the United States military was our ancestors' enemy. So it's kind of like, what are they today?
Nothing has changed, basically.
Right. And then you can kind of see why, your Biden go 100 days without giving a certain group. Who are we still that enemy to this? So just kind of like try to, clear that up.
Great point. Great point. And I like how you interjected that. And that's the reality that our ancestors had military as well. And they were going against the Europeans' military, which is the US military.
Right.
And just to throw in what you said about Biden in the first 100 days, here we are, the quote unquote Afghanistan war is ending. And now they're bringing prisoners of war from another landmass on this landmass. And they're going to give them specific benefits. But the prisoners of war on this land, reclassified as Negro, Black, colored, Afro-American, minority, people of color, you still haven't gotten anything specific from this administration. So we're watching, but not in neglect and living. Chief Akibulon, you want to be?
I agree with what Black Code said about them being our ancestors' enemy. And that's why personally, I feel like the whole reparation thing, I don't necessarily agree with 100%. Because I feel like if they weren't giving people reparations back then why are we still asking for that now? It's like if somebody steals $10 million from the bank and they go into hiding and the bank calls every year like, hey, I know it's been a year, but you think we can get that money back? It's like we're still putting ourselves in the same system, asking them for something that we know we're kind of not gonna get. So I feel like we have to create, like, even with this, what we're doing right now, I feel like this is a form of reparations because people didn't have the knowledge back then, and a lot of people don't have the knowledge these days. So stuff like this, I feel like is a form of reparation. Like if you have land, passing that down as a form of reparation for your family. If you have a business, passing that down as a form of reparation for your family, because it loosens the dependency on our ancestors' enemy. So I feel like, what Black Coat said, we have to realize that, and a lot of people don't realize that, but we can't fault them for that because it was a point in time when us and the people that we listen to and the people that are leaders in our community as well didn't know the same stuff that we know now. So I just feel like it takes time, but I feel like eventually everybody will get there.
So let me ask you a question on that, Chief Akibulon, because that was a great, powerful thing you said. When you said you feel like reparations is a waste of time, so are you saying that like everything that we've created that the European benefits off of, us as a group should just let them have that? Or are you saying you just don't believe we can create our own nation again and then to the government?
No, I don't believe that. Like I feel like we should still, of course, get our I still definitely feel like we should get our, like, be paid back for the things that we contributed, but I also feel like us continuously, specifically, let's just say specifically for the money aspect, right? On the money aspect, it's like we see that they're not giving us money, and in a sense you can say that, oh, the stimulus is money, but at the same time I feel like that was just a way for them to get a whole bunch of money out of the system. Like I think it's quantitative tightening or easing, one of those. But I feel like it, give me a second so I can make sure I'm saying this correct. I feel like that we need to have the knowledge first to know how to not be taken advantage of, because I feel like back then we had a lot of things, but it was easy for them to infiltrate. It was easy for them to find a way, like find cracks, just like how there were snitches during the slave times. I feel like we need to figure out how to build something that's a lot more tight knit to where we don't have to, but we have a way to secure everything that comes into us, like comes into the community. We need to figure that out on a community level, like on a communal level, because like with money, we don't have all of our money goes outside of our community and like under a minute, if I'm not mistaken. So we have to figure out a way to, like, moving forward, like whether that's with crypto, whether that's with real estate, whether that's with any type of business you have. We have to figure out how to keep we have to make everything that we do, we have to know how to keep it independent and have not make it to where down the future it's like, okay, well, this worked for a little bit, but we need help. And the only way we'll get help is from the government. I feel like we have to, it's like building a new frontier. I feel like things like this helps a lot because it's knowledge like this that doesn't get out a lot, and specifically this in depth. And this will help spark something from generations, like generations to come. So it's about the small things, I feel like.
Great bill, Chief of Key Blind. I agree with you 100%. No one is half the battle, and the fact that we got different generations that have come together as a group to pass this information it makes me proud to know that the younger generation, when you know the game, your friends know it, your associates. So it changes with information. Chief Quietwater, you want to build on that or?
No, I pretty much agree with everybody.
All right, I'll pick up. In response, the War Department ordered Major General Andrew Jackson to invade Florida for the purpose of punishing the Seminole and driving them out of North Florida. In March 1818, Jackson entered Florida with more than 3,000 men, about half of whom were Creek Americans. And so that's a note that we definitely want to, when Chief of Key Blind was just talking about people selling out, we're going to know it. We're going to recognize as we read these treaties, the Creek Nation was the one that partnered with the United States government against the other nations within the Creek Confederacy. So here you can see at that time, he was General Andrew Jackson, but Andrew Jackson is the same person on the $20 bill, right? And so that was really, if your ancestors come from the Southeast region of North America, that's really like one of your number one enemies. Because Jackson is responsible for the American Removal Act and the Seminole Wars. Anybody else want to build on that?
Something that goes back to that too, the point that I made about if they came here and didn't see anything where they have tried to conquer like they did, something my dad told me a while ago is like, he said, like with sports and music and everything, but this also just transcends sports and music and all of that. But he was like, if a white man comes and offers you $10,000, you're worth 10 times more than that. And I feel like we have to realize stuff like that. Like, okay, if somebody comes, even with like wholesaling houses, I know even when I was like dabbling in it, I know that people know that their houses is worth more than they're receiving, but some people are in situations. But if you're in a situation, like if these natives are in a situation, they should have consulted, at least, even if you consulting your own tribe, I feel like it would have helped, and we can't change it, but I feel like it would have helped if it was like, okay, the Creek Nation got the offer from the Europeans and then went to like the Seminoles, or they went to the Iroquois and said, hey, did these people come to y'all? Like, what did they tell y'all? Like, how are they moving to y'all? How do y'all feel about what they're trying to do? And if they said, we're not really messing with them, it could have been a completely different thing, because they would have been able to form something even stronger than just the Creek Nation or just the Iroquois. They could have created something mixed with all of those indigenous tribes. And I feel like we have to start consulting with each other and not just being so one track minded, like, oh, okay, they came to me with the deal, I'm gonna just go with it because I know it's gonna help me out. But in the long run, it's gonna mess up everybody, including your family and including your grandkids.
Great bill. Chief Black Coat, Chief Quietwater. Y'all want to build on that?
Yeah, I think I'm good on this one.
Okay. Chief Quietwater.
Yeah, me too.
All right. After destroying the Miccosukee villages in the Tallahassee region, Jackson turned south and captured the small Spanish outpost at St. Mark's. He then proceeded further south, fighting a battle at Econfina Creek and eventually driving the Seminole beyond the Swanee River after a battle at Old Town. So first sentence is what jumps out to me: after destroying the Miccosukee villages in the Tallahassee region. So we can see they had a search and destroy mindset where won a battle, they just pretty much burned everything, right? Which there's nowhere to retreat back to. right? That's what jumps out to me, how they were moving. They were destroying towns. Those that they could win, those that they beat, right? They would destroy it.
Right.
That's what I took out of that. If anybody else want to build on that.
I think he said it, if they want a battle, they will level it out, destroy it. There's nothing to go back to. There's nothing to remember as far as foundation on the land and crops, whatever it was. They just totally got rid of it.
It's like they were just erasing any remnants of them, which is fast forward what they've done throughout so many years in so many other areas where we reside. So I think it's the same thing. They've been doing it for centuries.
And you see the mindset coming to the new world. If we're coming from their perspective, it is to search and destroy. Because if that wasn't already part of the brief or part of the plan, why were they doing that? So we came over here to make sure we were going to clear these ways for our people to come over.
True.
And that's why it was called conquest, because they were literally coming to conquer. That was their plan. And then even think about the names that they had. Think about the names that the Europeans had. Like Ivan the Terrible. It was somebody named the Conqueror. They have like these. It's like they have these story names where it's like their lives are built on these stories, and your story is based off. Well, your name is based off like the life you live. So if you're, let's just say it was Jeffrey the Conqueror, that was what you were based off of, and your like the generations after you are going to follow in those footsteps.
Right. And again, this is coming from their God. Their God is telling them to do this to this group of people.
Right.
So understand their mentality too. So it's like, hold on. And now that today church is a big thing, we still go into the church and you see a white Jesus. Not to shame anybody's religion, but it makes you think, what God are you representing? What God are you?
And then think about too, just speaking on the religion aspect, when you I read this, I forgot where I read it at, it don't matter, but it said this thing, all races, like if you look at the Hindus, if you look at Buddhism, if you look at Christianity from a European perspective, if you look at let's just say those in Judaism, all those religions, all of the gods in those religions look like the people. But when it comes to Black people or the original people, when you look at our God, it's a white Jesus. So it's like those type of things kind of disconnect you from with the power that you actually have.
Correct.
And then that picture I sent y'all of the dude praying to a Black Madonna, that don't make sense.
Right.
Try to push through this, even though we're doing the summary for sake of time. He also ordered the hanging of two influential American leaders, Hillis and Hadjo, and Hamathli Miko, who has been lured out to an American warship flying a British Union Jack. The war against the Seminole may have been over, but the invasion was not, claiming the Spaniards were offering sanctuary to the Americans and supplying them with arms. Jackson exceeded his orders by traveling over 100 miles to the west to attack and capture Pensacola, the capital of Spanish West Florida. Leaving the army in possession of the city, Jackson returned to Tennessee. The general's actions caused considerable diplomatic problems with Spain and England and led to lengthy debates in Congress concerning the power of the military and the president. In 1819, at the lengthy talks that did not include Seminole representatives, Spain agreed to cede Florida to the United States. When the territory changed hands in 1821, Andrew Jackson was appointed its first governor. So it's a lot there. I'm gonna slow it down because we're working, but it's a lot here. Number one, Jackson exceeded his orders by traveling over 100 miles west to attack and capture Pensacola. So Congress never declared war in the first place. So this is an illegitimate war, but you got military operations going on. Pensacola was the first capital of Florida. There's another history note for you. Tallahassee is the capital now, right? Which is an indigenous name, Tallahassee. But that's just a good note that it was Pensacola, when it was under Spain, when Spain was military occupying it. Pensacola was the capital, where it says Jackson exceeded his orders by traveling over 100 miles west, over 100 miles to the west to attack and capture Pensacola, the capital of Spanish West Florida. So there's a lot in there, but we can see Andrew Jackson sends his warlords in there, occupy land, and then he turns around and becomes the governor of the land under the United States government. Militarily. Then he came as a politician.
Okay.
See that?
I feel like this is probably when they started. Well, I think this is after 1776. I feel like this is when they started to, if I'm not mistaken, this is probably when they started to think about like doing checks and balances. Because if he went and did this and it said there were diplomatic problems, they probably were like, why would you, like, you didn't come to us about this, you started an illegitimate war. They probably, in that meeting that they had, and since it didn't include the Seminole representatives, like I said, they probably came together like, okay, if you're going to do this, we need an actual game plan. And that's probably when they started thinking about how to continue what Andrew Jackson had started, like the little going and just taking over and basically warmoring over the natives and taking their land.
Good point. I'll just add in one more thing. Jackson was the general. Duval was a key player because Duval signed that treaty. Jackson didn't sign the treaty. So we already know that the military did this treaty on their own. It was under Andrew Jackson as the general. It was a war. They just did it outside. They did that outside the United States government. And then Andrew Jackson was like, yeah, I'm the governor down here too now. What, you gonna come down here and make me? So we can see the Civil War. We can see how the military was going rogue against the United States government. Their military was turning on it in the Seminole Wars. Anybody want to build on that?
You can just see how big-headed these, I guess, generals or whoever was in charge, Andrew Jackson, you can see how big-headed they were at the time, thinking that they were gonna, which they have, which they have, but they knew during the time, like, they were standing on whatever operation they had in plan, they would stand on it. So you can see the big-headedness in this. I like how you explained that, Chief Alligator.
All right, so if we can do we'll do the Black Seminole summary. This is the last part of the summary of the First Seminole War. And then next week will be all dedication to the American Removal Act. But like Chief Akibalon and everybody shared, it's important information. We ain't in our, we work it as we work it. But does somebody else want to pick up on the Black Seminoles? And one of our heroes, if you can scroll back up to his image.
Abraham, Black Seminole interpreter and war leader from 1836 to 1840.
I wonder if that was his name or the name they gave.
What name?
One of y'all want to read that little caption right there?
Wait, what name?
Abraham.
Right here, Abraham.
I'll read it. More than any other Indian conflict, the Seminole Wars are strongly influenced by the issue of slavery. For over a century, blacks held in bondage in Georgia and the Carolinas had fled to freedom in Spanish Florida. Many joined the Seminole and some became influential leaders. They often resided in their own villages close to Indian settlements and developed their own culture with a mix of Native, African, and American influences. Although numerous blacks lived voluntarily among the Seminole, many were actually purchased slaves. Their plantation experience made them skilled farmers, which yielded profits to their owners, who could sell the slaves surplus produce. Yet Seminole slaves were treated much like any other tribal member, and for most of them, it was as close to freedom as they could hope to get. It seems like they're just comparing this to slavery, to be honest, and kind of trying to differentiate the two. It seems like the same to me.
what stood, I'm gonna point this part out, they often resided in their own villages close to Indian settlements and developed their own culture with a mix of Indian, African, and American influences. So we're gonna take away the African part. We're gonna zoom in on the Indian and American influences. Just wordplay. This is just another published article from whoever.
Right.
Anything to keep you off a little track. We understand that the Indians, a term they coined is the true American, so they didn't have to even put that there.
Is this out of a textbook?
Most likely.
No. This comes off the Florida Seminoles website.
Right.
So both of y'all are correct. This whole little paragraph is really a lie because we've already read the treaty and we knew that the Americans did a deal with the military to till the land.
Right.
I just asked that because it looks like it's set up like a textbook too.
Yeah, that didn't exist in the supreme law of the land. There was nothing about. Yeah, so and then they're using the word black, and now they're throwing in these adjectives to try to.
And African.
Yeah, it can't be an adjective. But go ahead, Chief, keep lying.
That's crazy. Well, it's literally just like the same thing 3 times. But after Florida became a United States territory in 1821, Southern slave owners pressured the government to recover their stolen slaves. Treaties contain clauses demanding the return of runaways and unscrupulous slave catchers, often to blacks that have been properly purchased by the Seminole or free men and women who have been born into the tribe. Because Indians and blacks were effectively barred from the court system, they were rightfully resentful for the loss of friends, family members, or valuable slaves. The blacks, fearing a return to slavery, pressured the Seminoles to resist removal to the west, and when war broke out, they became some of the tribe's fiercest warriors. Others, fearing capture, fled Florida by canoe, taking refuge in the Bahamas, where slavery had been abolished. All right, so the last part that I just saw, where it says blacks fearing a return to slavery pressured the Seminoles. They're obviously not talking about just black people. It's probably another tribe, but that's what I was saying, that if everybody did that, I feel like it would have been a completely different ball game. If somebody's seen something happen already and they're like, hey, all right, y'all need to look out for this. And if it starts happening, y'all just call us. And it seems like that's what happened with the Seminoles, and that's why they were the fiercest, because they probably had some type of prior knowledge. And yeah, this is just honestly mind-blowing. It's kind of crazy. To me, it's just like the audacity that these people had to try this type of stuff is pretty wild.
All right.
Yeah, for me, it just shows how they can't keep their lies straight. Because we know what the treaties, after reading the Treaty of Moultrie Creek, we know what that says. But then they kind of mention it if you blow it back up. In that last paragraph you read where it said Southern slave owners pressured the government to recover their stolen slaves, which are really prisoners of war, right? Treaties contain clauses demanding the return of runaways. We know there was clauses, right, in those treaties. And unscrupulous slave unscrupulous slave catchers often took quote unquote blacks that had been properly purchased by the Seminole or free men and women who had been born into the tribe. So basically all of that is just a big lie. Slave catchers were going into those nations and tribes and kidnapping people and taking them on the plantations, because again, they were the ones that knew how to work the land. So they can't even keep their lives straight right now, trying to say black and this and that. No.
The crazy thing is too, though, like even in today's time, I wouldn't even, well, no, you can't say that. Like today with like when the Jeffrey Epstein thing happened and they were literally taking little girls and just women in general and having them work as sex slaves. It's literally them kidnapping people. It's like the same exact thing over and over. And this stuff isn't funny, but it's just like the audacity of this stuff is just like crazy, that they really, like the fact that they said that you can properly purchase someone.
Right.
That's like if you go to the store and you buy a human, it's like, you didn't really do that right. Come back and buy him like on the auction or something. That's just crazy to me.
Right. And the lie, the logic in their lie, the logic doesn't coincide with their lie, because you can't bring people from another landmass or another state on this, not state, another territory, America, and expect them to till the land. So we know that you were kidnapping people that you put on reservations,
Right,
taking them back to your plantation,
right.
already working on similar land. So here they can't keep their lie straight.
Mhm.
Want to build on that, Chief Quietwater, Chief Blackcoat?
No, that's right. It just sounds like just a lot of double talking and it just doesn't make logical sense, basically.
It's the talk of the snake, because the snake's tongue is like this and they speak two ways.
Mhm.
Yeah, they're just trying to pretty much lie, and when you lie so much, the truth still is inside the lie, because now you're just all over the place with it. But again, they feel like they can do that. Why? Because they have a military. So we can get sloppy with the literature and the language, because we really don't know who's who at this point. We come from all over, whatever. But as far as that piece, aside from the literature, they stand and they put all this crap out, because it's like, who's gonna actually debate me in this, and who's gonna, if we don't know who's gonna actually teach me or tell me who you guys are, if we're thinking we're Negro or Afro American or whatever today, Pan Africanist, whoever.
I'm gonna add one
Also
more
too,
and hopefully we can add this link in the description so people can go to this heritage website for the state of Florida, but also look at it from the American standpoint that's recognized as Seminole right now. This is their document. So again, they're trying to call us Black because they don't want us to reclaim our bloodline. So you got to look at it how this document's coming from their entity. So remember, they sold us out. Our family splits during the American Removal Act. So those that went west of the Mississippi to Oklahoma, they act as if everybody went from the Southeast.
Right.
That's the lie they're living right now. When you go to their websites, and we'll do that next week, when you read each one of their websites for those 5 civilized nations, they're all saying that everybody went west of the Mississippi. Well, if everybody went west, who were the people fighting in the Second and Third Seminole War? Come on, make it make. Yeah.
Did they confuse themselves when they started calling themselves Indians and then got real confused?
How many of y'all know this position?
But that's not what happened. Yeah, they're fighting our ancestors. The ones that was like, nah. Bring ass to whoop ass. They stood on their land, the homeland.
So if we can put that link in there. Chief Akibulon, you had something else you wanted to build on?
I was about to say something and I don't remember. I don't remember.
Quiet water.
Oh, I'm good.
Mom,
I think we had a good meeting.
stop sharing your screen.
Oh,
Next week, I can do the steps.
I'll do the Inventor.
okay.
Anybody?
I'll do the you said you'll do the steps? No.
Yeah.
Inventor, Black Code. Okay. And I'll do another one of the Dr. Woodson quotes.
I won't be here. I'll be working.
Okay.
I'll do the rule points.
We're still recording too.
Okay.
I'll do the maroon points, and Chief Biko hopefully will be back next week. He has some business to take care of. So the MC, aka Master of Ceremony, he was he wasn't able to be here today. But yeah, we'll spend 1 full hour next week on the American Removal Act. We just finished up the summary. We'll put that link to that website to the description on this, and that should be it for the first Seminole War summary. And anything y'all want to say in closing?
Class.
Yeah, another good week, another week in the books.
Chief Keeper
Got truth out there.
Everybody keep learning that's watching this video.
What do you say?
Learn wherever you can, learn however much you can. Just keep learning.
Yeah.